Hi, everybody. I don't know what's going on. It's not Mercury retrograde, but clearly I've hit a nerve with some listening device because I just made a whole hour-long show of predictions that's not there. Okay, so we're going to try this again. I'm going to start with my predictions for what I see coming within the next 6 weeks, but will be a domino effect that will continue for the next 42 months from moon to moon. There are going to be more earthquakes, particularly in Indonesia. You should watch out for a large one there. Possibly even another one for Morocco. I'm sorry to say. We're going to see big movement in the West Pacific Plate, specifically the Indo-Australian Plate between New Zealand and Japan. So I expect that both of those will as well be affected by earthquakes and possibly even a tsunami, as well as the main island of Hawaii could be affected by a tsunami because there will be an earthquake in the Atlantic in the plates there. Excuse me, the Pacific, I mean. Also in the North Mediterranean Sea between France and Spain, there will be quakes. This will be a triangulated event when that particular earthquake happens for the North Mediterranean Sea. There will also be another one in the Pacific, either in the south or the southwest. And then there will be another one that will be part of Indonesia's quake, where I began with, somewhere between Java and Sumatra and Indonesia. So lots of quake activity that will be taking place fairly soon. Unless we can prevent it, of course. And there are multiple fires all across the planet right now. And I'm going to show you a video clip of that. And I want you to seriously ask yourself, why wouldn't the powers that be want you to focus on one particular place that has had some fire and think with a conspiracy type mind rather than seeing a bigger picture? And I want you to also ask yourself, if we have news outlets that are supposedly reporting world news, then why are they not reporting all of these thousands of wildfires that are taking place on planet Earth all at the same time? And why are they not telling you about all of the other tremendously large things that are taking place on planet Earth right now? They're only speaking of a few things and keeping your focal point there. Whereas I think that you should zoom out and look at a bigger scope of the whole picture rather than a narrow lens of just a small fragment of what is going on. So I would like to share with you we're going to go here first and listen to what he has to say. And I will share the links to these other videos.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. In this video, we're going to take a look at a current global phenomenon that's underway. 5 continents on planet Earth are dealing with some degree of wildfires. I was observing the wildfires once again up in Canada, and I got to noticing that the wildfires were stretching down through North America. I knew there was some activity down in South America, and once I got to looking around, it looks like the wildfire activity down there had grown exponentially. Checked out the wildfire situation in Africa. It too looks like the situation has grown a lot over in Africa, not only in southern Africa, but North Africa as well, up into southern Europe, multiple places dealing with wildfires, and also down in Australia, where they're seeing record temperatures above 100 degrees down in Australia, and that is also attributing to the wildfire situation down in Australia. So what I decided to do was make maps of all the continents that were dealing with wildfires, and I'm going to share those maps with you guys here in just a moment. It almost has an apocalyptic feeling to it. It's like there's too much on fire at the same time. There are over 1,000 wildfires currently underway, and there could be more. Coming over to the homepage of the website, today's feature photo was sent in by Brian McSurdy out of Strasburg, Pennsylvania. Spectacular lightning making contact with the ground in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate that. Checking in on the GOES X-ray flux over here at the Space Weather Prediction Center. All quiet in the last 24 hours, with the exception of a couple of large CMEs. There's one underway right here, as you're going to see, and then this one here that occurred just a few hours ago that was not Earth directed. So the sun is active, just not necessarily anything major. Checking in on the Schumann resonance, talk about activity. Those of you that are sensitive to the Schumann don't need me to tell you that there have been many major spikes detected in the Schumann resonance. Hopping over to the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, looking at the seismographs that monitor the mighty supervolcano, looking at a little bit of activity in Yellowstone Lake, right in the center of the caldera. Everywhere else, for the most part, pretty quiet at the supervolcano. Want to take you guys now to various locations around the world. This is a map I put together that doesn't include all of the wildfires. These are just the most recent wildfires in North Africa and parts of Europe, over in France, Portugal, Greece, Italy, Northern Africa, Algiers, and then over in Turkey. And again, this is just the most recent wildfire activity I found in this part of the world. Over here at NASA Earth Observatory, wildfires rage in Greece. This goes back to August 22nd of 2023, just about 4 weeks ago, and you can see this large plume of wildfire smoke drifting across the Aegean Sea, across Greece, headed towards Italy. Multiple wildfires in that region we just spoke of here in the Greece area. There's also wildfires in Algiers that prompted many evacuations. Wildfires in North Europe and North Africa, over here at bbc.com, showing some photos of the wildfire activity back in July. Photo here out of Italy. Photo here also out of Italy, and there's some photos out of Algiers and Greece. Many wildfires over there in parts of Europe and North Africa. And going from Europe, Northern Africa, down to Australia, where they're seeing temperature records. Some places recording temperatures above 100 degrees, and it's only September. Check this out. Historic heat in Australia. Stunning 38.4 degrees Celsius. And I think I saw one higher that was in the 39 degree range, which is over 100 degrees in multiple locations, dealing with temperatures in the 90s. And yes, there are multiple wildfires across all of Australia, from Western Australia clear over to Brisbane, and multiple locations in between. Over 100 wildfires burning in Australia. Going from Australia to South Central Africa, there's always wildfires down in here, I've noticed. They seem to be pretty active in this part of the world year-round, but right now there are over 300 wildfires burning in this part of the world. Another location that is dealing with a high concentration of wildfires. And this location alone, I put this map together right here north of Botswana, over 280 wildfires just in this area alone. And all of these represent more wildfires, anywhere from 1 to 10, maybe 12 wildfires. So multiple wildfires underway also in Southern Africa. Going from Southern Africa over to South America, where there is an unprecedented amount of wildfires over here right now as I do this video, not only in South America, but North America as well. Starting down here in Argentina, there's over 175 wildfires currently underway, 129 in Bolivia, and over 42 wildfires currently underway in the Amazon rainforest. That would be the last place you would think a wildfire would occur, but they too have been very active for quite some time. Over here at rainforestfoundation.org, talking about the ongoing situation with the wildfires in the Amazon rainforest, and there's also many wildfires down in Argentina. You can see before and after photos here. There's a large burn scar that's currently been formed from the ongoing wildfire situation down in Argentina. And once again, there are currently over 100 wildfires in this part of the world down in Argentina. Just north of Argentina, another high concentration of wildfires, 150 plus coming over to North America. In Canada, we've been watching this all summer long, 300 plus wildfires currently today as I do this video, and there have been many, many more up in Canada. Here's a look at the wildfire situation down here in the United States. These are active wildfires that are currently underway as I do this video, spanning from Washington down to Oregon, Idaho, Montana, down into Louisiana of all places, and even over in North Carolina, and it's showing a small wildfire down in southern Florida. Never seen anything like it. I don't think I've ever seen this many wildfires ongoing at the same time on any of these maps. And these wildfires just alone in Canada have affected tens of thousands of people, and there are still many wildfires underway right now as I do this video. So when you put all these maps together and you look at all the wildfires collectively underway at the same time, it does look a little overwhelming, and it almost has an apocalyptic feeling to it, as there's almost too many wildfires underway at the same time. 5 continents on planet Earth dealing with some degree of wildfires. Thanks for the photos and videos, guys.
Now, these wildfires alone are affecting tens of thousands of people. And then you've got the floods that have happened that have affected another huge tens of thousands of people. Lives have been lost in the tens of thousands. Earthquakes are happening where lives are lost again in the thousands. So, all in all, on planet Earth, within the last week and a half, 11 days, we've lost 100,000 lives, and people that number or larger have been displaced, have lost their homes, have nowhere to go. This is going to continue as an uptick. This is not conspiracy theories of some rogue group that's attacked some specific location only. And they damn sure haven't done this to the whole planet. That's just ridiculous to think that way. Now, I mean, I'm a truther just like anybody else. And I have my own set of theories that some would call a conspiracy. But this is not one of them. If anything, this is being kept mum so that you don't zoom out and look at everything from a larger scope rather than the narrow lens that these information outlets are telling you. Because there is a lot going on right now on planet Earth, and it's going to continue for the next 42 months, from full moon to full moon. 42 months is what I was shown. Domino effect. Now that can very much lessen and start slowing down and losing momentum with more light workers getting on board with helping to keep the planet shielded and divert or distribute the energies that are affecting specific locations. I teach classes on this, and this is not some plug to get you to go buy my class. That's not what this is. This is serious. Our Earth is changing. There are cyclical events taking place that we cannot stop, but we can lessen the brunt of it. I was also shown in my premonitions that there will be a crop circle to appear if we are able to, enough light workers are able to effectively shield and protect the planet in the proper ways. That will be a signifier that this 42 months event will be shortened and its intensity greatly lessened, greatly reduced. So, and I'm hoping that we see that within the next 6 months. But keep in mind how much has happened in the last 11 days. So a lot could happen in the next 6 months, even. So one way or another, I would love for you to be prepared for this and at least have your eyes open and aware of what is taking place all over planet Earth, rather than just focusing on this particular piece of information or that particular piece of information and not looking at the whole picture and realizing that this is a cyclical event that is just building momentum at this point. I sincerely hope that you will pay attention to that. And I have another video clip that I want to share with you. This man also is very uh, well informed and does great research. And again, I will share all of the links with you down below. Oh, and I also just wanted to mention too, um, 2 days ago when I was extremely dizzy, I did a segment on this. I was extremely dizzy and had to do some grounding and some stabilization of the poles and such. And this gentleman's video clip will actually lend credence to why I was experiencing this.
From this sunspot group here, which destabilize those magnetic fields of the filament enough such that field as a result. This is what a filament looks like. Close up, you can see those bands, those coils of plasma there, held in place by very strong magnetic fields. And when they finally release, if you look at a chronograph view, these plasma waves can launch from the sun. This arrived faster than the model predicted. Now, planets also lie outwards in interstellar space as well. So this is a very strong shakeup for the entire solar system. We're going to go back in what's happening on the Earth. But first, I want to look at the solar wind data. Here we can see the dynamics of this plasma wave very clearly. This is collected at the L1 Lagrange point, so it's about 60 minutes out. And you see the interplanetary magnetic field here in black at 10 nanotesla immediately jump up to 22 nanotesla. So a very large increase. It doubled basically instantly, and this has a 1 hour lag time with us. So what you see here is going to happen 1 hour after it pops up here. Then we see this very up in the southward vertical component of the interplanetary magnetic field. It went sharply negative all the way to negative 18 nanotesla there. And this is especially significant because during the equinoxes, like we have, there's something known as the Russell-McLaren effect, which means that the interplanetary magnetic field couples very geomagnetic field, allowing a big injection of energy into our planet every time these conditions are met. So big changes on our Earth right now as the storm is still rippling through. It has waves. The first wave, drop up, like, you know, an increase in the vertical component back to positive, but then a drop back into the negative territory, even like below negative 10 nanotesla. And we'll see how this develops over the coming hours and days. Here is our measure of geomagnetic volatility index. You also have the normal KP index. I refer to the HP60 index because it shows the KP index but at a higher resolution. And you see we've had some significant geomagnetic volatility over the past week or so. Back at the beginning of September, things were fairly quiet. HP index below 3 the entire time. And then we immediately jump up to high 5s and 4s, and then a little solar flares and plasma filament impacts on the Earth right here. These large values, 5.33, and then up in. We'll go back and look at this data a little bit. We do see a increase in the protons starting earlier today from the very kind of forefront of that plasma filament solar wave. So we see radiation storm, and overall during this time period you see there has been very little solar activity. The solar wind and the geomagnetic volatility on our planet is due to this plasma wave impacting the from Intermagnet. I downloaded it here, and this is really striking. This is showing the magnetic field in the X, Y, is the total magnetic field strength at the Black Forest Observatory in Germany. You see 100 nanotesla range, and you see these normal diurnal variations. So there's normal diurnal variations there, is mirrored there and also there. So there's not really too much in terms of what's changing with Earth's magnetic field on a day-to-day basis when things are geomagnetically quiet. But if we go over now to this, we see a very sharp increase in the strength after that. It's actually setting new highs if we look at this this range here. Normally it's bounding in between 48,505 all the way down to 48,475, and then this is like here as measured at the Black Forest Observatory. But we can look at also a big drop in the magnetic field strength. So these changes in Earth's magnetic field are dependent on your location across the planet, and here they're quite a bit stronger. a increase in the total magnetic field strength. This time period there, we see that Z drops, Y Jaipur, India, we actually lose the normal diurnal variation that we normally see in the data. If you look at it here, we have this diurnal variation, 1, 2, 3. Where did it go? There, disappeared. Where things really show themselves these small variations, and now it's all the way up to 51,950. So a 200 nanotesla increase, which is dramatic. So this is a very strong, especially for those at the higher latitudes. There's one last data set here we can look at for Brazil, and this shows again some a little more of a lesser slope, but here we see this impact from the solar plasma really, whereas normally it's these lesser waves. And you can see here the magnetic field strength is quite a bit less than it is in Sweden, only in the 23,000 nanotesla range. So it really depends on where you are on the planet, how these geomagnetic storms impact you. What's also being impacted by this planet. So we had Mercury first in line, then Venus, and the Earth. And what's interesting, magnetic situations. Mercury, for example, has a planetary magnetic field. Scientists believe it's as a result of Mercury being so close impact for Mercury, but in general, Mercury doesn't have an atmosphere and its magnetic field isn't that strong. So this impact is really shaking up the magnetic field of Mercury. It actually already passed about a day or two ago. So Mercury is now in the post-storm, about how some eruption from the sun can trigger successive magnetic storms across. You could even think about what that means astrologically if you're into astrology. Now, Venus does not have a planetary magnetic field, but it does have an ionosphere, has a very, very thick atmosphere. So when solar wind interacts, a protective, it's like an induced magnetosphere, and this will charge the atmosphere of Venus even more and contribute to that heating effect that Venus is so famous for. So right, excessive waves of solar plasma that's pushing past Venus. It's probably now at the very tail end or more, and Venus is recovering from this big solar flare impact. Now the Earth is in the middle of it right now, as we talked about. Here are radiation belts. These are the boundaries and layers of highly energetic plasma that surround our planet from about 2 Earth radii out to 9 Earth radii. And we see a big drop right there in the plasma density of the radiation belts. We can zoom in on it again, right there. And you see this sharp, sharp drop on the 17th. And this is actually yesterday now. So it's preceding that plasma wave. But what's interesting about that impact, if we go here, it shifts the radiation belts outwards. You see there, this is the L region. So there's 3 Earth radii, here's 5 Earth radii, 7 Earth radii. It actually push the Earth's radiation belts out away from the Earth, which is typically not what you see. Typically, you see them getting closer, and you see electron precipitation events and ion precipitation events occur during these types of impacts. So very, very interesting dynamics in terms of the radiation belt in the plasmasphere. And we've had some big changes in the Schumann resonances as well, but not in the way that you normally think of. Normally, people are looking at the 7.8 hertz Schumann resonance, the 14 hertz, the 20 hertz Schumann resonance, the 25 hertz Schumann resonance. But what we've been seeing instead are these geomagnetic pulsations. And these have been occurring during these periods of geomagnetic volatility. So here we see a big pulsation there, and boom, here is our HP60 index going up to 5. There we see a sequence of pulsations there, sub 8 hertz. Of course, also in the Schumann resonances themselves. And what do we see? We see also geomagnetic volatility on our planet. And we see that also surrounding this event, there were geomagnetic pulsations here. And then if we go here to the beginning of this large period of geomagnetic volatility, we see a sequence of geomagnetic pulsations precede that as well. These are PC1 pulsations, sub 5 hertz.
Okay. But we also know that those are not a big deal. Those Schumann resonance scales that were being shown are nothing compared to what they normally can look like. And you know that if you've been paying attention to any of that kind of stuff. And I feel like a lot of the people that watch my videos do pay attention to the Schumann resonance and the K index. And those are not that significant for what we just experienced. However, what he did show in his video was actually proof, evidence of 3 nights ago now, when I felt that severe dizziness. And the first thing I did was go into my light worker suit, if you will, my light worker body, and started pushing out. Remember me telling you I was pushing out, and I was feeling for the poles, and I couldn't feel them. So I just kept pushing out and holding. And I'm not the only one that did that. There were several others that were within the order that did the same thing instinctively as well. And this is evidence in his video. Play it back if you need to, by all means, and listen again. This is proof of what we can do. Okay. So again, I'm not trying to plug my website. I'm not trying to plug the course that I offer to teach you, but I can teach you how to do this if you feel called to do so, to assist us with lessening the impact that's going to happen on planet Earth. Because that was proof of it right there. And I'm so glad that I found this today to show that evidence. Now, as far as Venus, I just want to make a small comment real quick that Venus actually heats up more when the solar flares hit it, simply because it's part of our multi-binary, multi-starred system, because I refer to it as a binary system, but it's really 4 total, because Jupiter also is one that lays in wait, but Venus is what we would liken to being the baby of the dwarf stars. She will be last in line for the throne, as you would call it, right? And by the time she gets to the throne, there will be 3 others in wait in her place, just like Jupiter and her, because they actually birth new planets. So I just wanted to really emphasize that's when those big flares happened. And those big flares actually happened because of our binary star that is out there in the southern two. It was at the 6 o'clock position and then went to the 3 o'clock position. I showed you that in another video as well, that just took place about 6 days ago. So, and it's still out there. So it's still, getting reaction from our main star, which is the way it's supposed to work. They kind of shoot at each other with solar flares in like a little battle, if you will. I also want to point out to you that the Hopi prophecy speaks of the blue star Kachina and the red star Kachina. The blue one will come first and be the harbinger, and then the red one is called the destroyer. Well, February of this year of 2023 is when we saw the blue star Kachina. We had a comet that was a blue-green color come into our atmosphere, or excuse me, come into our vicinity, where we could see it with our telescopes, and I think some people even with the naked eye, if I remember correctly, that has never in recorded history been in our solar system before. It's never been seen before, and it was a very significant signifier for the events to unfold, and they have been progressively unfolding. For example, our sun was allegedly in its solar minimum until really not even quite yet. I think it's like around November-ish is when the 11-year cycle where its poles flip happens. And it hasn't even succeeded that yet. But already, I mean, the past several years, we've seen this uptick in solar activity that is not on record for solar minimums. It just doesn't happen. And let's not forget that Earth's core stood still at the beginning of this year as well. Right? So we need to be thinking about these things. We need to be looking with a broader lens instead of our narrow scope, and really, truly becoming aware of what's happening on planet Earth and to planet Earth. Okay, so please, please be prepared, be safe. If you are called to assist in any way, shape, or form, go to the website, contact me by email, whatever. Let's do this. Let's effectively change this timeline, because we are down to 2 timelines. I've been shown this multiple times throughout my life. We're funneling down to just the one. We're down to 2 now. We're funneling down to the 2 that will narrow into just one. So which timeline are we going to be on, guys? Which timeline are we going to be on? The one that gets through this with very little further fallout? Or do we need more force for us to change? The choice is always yours. And until we meet again, be well and be blessed in love and light. Take care. Something else I just want to add to this that I was just thinking about. They've been talking about, they meaning like NASA and such, have been talking about we're going to see Betelgeuse going supernova, and that it will look like a sun shining in the night sky. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind. I know I mentioned that in another video that I just did a few days ago, but I really need for you to keep that in mind. Like, put that in your file cabinet and keep that in mind, because when you see that happening, that's not Betelgeuse. That is Nibiru. Okay?